Samantha was always a dreamer. From the time she was a child, she imagined herself under bright stage lights, where the sound of hundreds of people clapping filled her ears. At age 17, when her classmates talked about college and their future, while others went to parties, school dances, and spent time on social media, Samantha spent most of her time watching movies and practicing her favorite scenes. She stood in her room, practiced her lines, cried, laughed, and lived in the role of other characters. Samantha's family was not rich. Her parents worked hard just to live a normal life, and they never understood her love for acting. For them, acting was only something to watch on TV, not a real path for life. Her mother often said, "Samantha, you are talented, but acting won't pay your bills." And Samantha smiled and whispered, "Maybe not yet." She joined every school play, volunteered in small shows, and watched acting lessons online. She loved everything about acting, the feelings, the stories, the changes inside every role. But after graduation, life did not go as she hoped. College started. Bills got bigger, and her dreams slowly disappeared under the weight of real life. At 25, Samantha lived in a small apartment in Los Angeles and worked at a small cafe near a film school. Every day she made coffee for filmmakers, writers, and actors who were following the dreams she once had. Sometimes she felt inspired, but most of the time she felt invisible. One afternoon, while cleaning the tables, she heard some students excitedly talking about their short film. They laughed and planned and shared ideas. Samantha smiled and thought, "I wish I were in their place." She didn't know her life was about to change again. Not by magic, but by one simple conversation. One rainy evening, the cafe was almost empty. Samantha stood behind the counter and watched the rain on the window. The door opened, and a young man with a wet umbrella walked in. His face was sharp and his hair was messy, but his eyes looked calm and kind. He said, "1 hot chocolate, please," and smiled. Samantha nodded and made the drink. The man looked around and said, "It's very quiet tonight." She answered, "Yes. Rain usually keeps people at home." He laughed and said, "I love the rain. It feels real." Samantha smiled. "I know what you mean." The man said his name was Martin. She paused and replied, "Nice to meet you, Martin. I'm Samantha." They talked for a few minutes about the weather, the city, and coffee. The next day he came again, and again after that. Soon it became a sweet routine. Martin always sat near the window, and Samantha brought his drink with a smile. They slowly became friends. Martin said he worked in advertising, making short videos and promos. He loved creativity, but his real dream was making films. Samantha's heart beat fast. Film. Acting. The world she missed so much. She didn't say anything at first. She only listened and asked questions. But one night, while closing the cafe, she quietly admitted, "I once wanted to be an actress." Martin asked, "You wanted to? You don't want that anymore?" She shrugged. "I tried. I took auditions. I acted in small plays. But nothing worked. Life took another path." Martin smiled softly and said, "Dreams don't die so easily, Samantha." She laughed. "Maybe not. But sometimes they fall asleep." Weeks passed. They spent more time together, at the cafe, in the park, and on the walk home. They talked about movies, scripts, and favorite actors. And little by little, the fire inside Samantha began to burn again. One Saturday, Martin said, "Do you want to come to an important party tonight? I think you'll like it." That night, she got ready with a beautiful dress and a brighter smile. The party was full of music, laughter, and conversations. Martin introduced her to many people, including a man named Daniel, who was older and very confident. Martin said, "Daniel, this is Samantha." "A good friend. She used to be an actress." Daniel asked, "Used to? Why not now?" Samantha answered shyly, "I stopped believing it was possible." Daniel said, "That's a shame. We need people who still believe. I'm a producer and I always look for real emotion on camera." "Producer?" Samantha didn't know what to say. Martin laughed. "See? I told you you'd meet interesting people tonight." Daniel talked with her more about her experience, her favorite films, and how acting made her feel. Samantha answered honestly. Before leaving, Daniel said, "We're starting a small independent film next month. Do you want to come and read some lines? No pressure, just see how it feels." Samantha froze. Her heart was beating fast. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She whispered, "Really?" Daniel smiled. "Yes, Martin told me about you. Now I see that spark too." She turned to Martin. He smiled and said, "I told you dreams don't die." Next week, Samantha went to the studio. It was small but full of energy. Cameras, lights, scripts, and passionate people. The world she missed. Daniel gave her a script. "This is Anna. Take your time." Her hands were shaking, but when she began to read, her voice grew stronger. She wasn't just reading lines, she was feeling them. Everyone was silent. Daniel nodded and said, "You have something real, Samantha." Tears filled her eyes. After years of doubt, someone finally saw her. A week later, Daniel called. "You got the role." Filming was hard but beautiful. Long hours, many takes, lots of practice, but she loved every moment. Martin sometimes visited the set, bringing her coffee and cheering for her. When the movie was released, it was small, but it touched people's hearts. Reviews said, "New actress Samantha plays with honesty and emotion." For the first time in years, Samantha stood in front of a real audience and heard real applause. She smiled, trying not to cry. Outside the theater, Martin waited under the rain, the same rain from the night they met. He said quietly, "You did it." Samantha looked into his eyes and said sincerely, "We did it." Months passed. Samantha was invited to new auditions, got new roles, and started a new journey. But she never forgot that night, the night a kind friend opened the door to her dream. When interviewers asked, "What changed your life?" she smiled and said, "Kindness." The kindness of one person opened the door for me. Then she added, "Never forget your dreams. Even if they are sleeping, wake them up, because they are still yours."